Hello Ken, we've got the transmission out of your 2004 R3500. This is what it looks like when it's all apart. I'll go over some things that we found on the inside of the transmission, and Eric or Amanda will contact you with the cost estimates. So we'll start with the pan. We did find two pieces of snap ring. I would bet that you probably had other pieces of snap ring in the pan previous to that. And in the pan, you can see we've got some black goop, which is going to be clutch or band material. A little bit of stuff on the magnet. The positioning of the magnet's not correct. The magnet should actually be over there. The reusable pan gasket was taken off of that, and then a different gasket was put on there. The reusable pan gasket is really a much better gasket. If you don't use a reusable pan gasket, what can happen is these holes will dimple, and it'll be tough time sealing that up. So we're going to be using a reusable pan gasket because it's much thicker, much better, and just like the name says, it's reusable. The pump itself, it looks to be okay right now, so it's going to be our pump here. We're going to have a gerotor style pump, and we still have to clean it up and check our clearances, but basically this is what's going to happen is the torque converter hub is going to spin this inner gear, and then it's going to compress the oil and basically pump the oil around. So that's basically how that pump's going to work. They do have problems with the flatness of this surface here, so we've got to address that. As far as our valve body, so on the valve body there's a number of modifications we do when doing a recondition. This valve is our manual valve. We put an updated manual valve there. Our pressure regulator valve is going to be in this location here. Normally we're going to replace that and put one that has a line to loop modification. And then our solenoid switch valve is this one here. We'd normally replace that with a aftermarket style that's a better design. Now on the back side of this, we got our governor solenoid here and our pressure transducer. The governor solenoid is prone to problems, so this is the OEM style. We always put an aftermarket style, which is a 15% larger magnet here. The whole body of it's larger, so we would normally put the Borg-Warner solenoid, which is a much better design and resists sticking pretty well. There's other valve body modifications that we do to improve the shift quality and stuff like that, but when it's not a part, it's pretty hard to actually describe that. On our clutches, this is our front clutch, comes on for both forward and reverse. If you look here, that's closer to what the lining should look like, and our steel plate should be a nice uniform color. As we go toward the center of the clutch, you can see how the friction discs are blackened, and tremendous amount of heat from slippage has caused this. They're usually not flat, so they stop being flat like that, but the steel plate has got way too hot from the slippage. As I said, those pieces of snap ring we found in the pan, all the stuff that sits inside of this drum is going to be held in this groove with the snap ring. It's just fatigue that causes the snap ring to break. Basically, there's a 800-pound spring that is always pushing on everything here, trying to push it out. So this is a wave snap ring, and it's just fatigued. After a while, we just replace the snap ring with a new one, and usually you're good. The groove here has been damaged because these are broken into such small pieces. It's supposed to be sitting in there like that, and what's happened is it's rolled up the edge, so we're going to replace this drum as well. We've got to make sure that the snap ring doesn't pop out, otherwise you'll lose reverse. This is the low drum. You can see the damage from the low reverse band, so really rough here. And if we look inside this surface where my finger is, that is going to go up against this case support, and you can see all the damage done here. So the case support's no good, the low drum is no good, and the band that goes on for lower and reverse, it's cooked to a crisp. I think that it may have been one that the band adjustment was incorrect, and so that stuff is going to be on this. This screw looks like it's a long ways in, so I think that this is probably was set too tight and the band was probably dragging on, would be my guess. we're obviously going to replace the band, and the band adjustment will be correct when we're done, so we won't have any further problems on that. The low reverse band is not prone to failure, so this would be an unusual failure there. This is our overdrive direct clutch. There's really nothing wrong here. These are one-sided frictions. So the steel plate is on the back. Nice uniform color, everything looks fine there. This is our rear clutch. It comes on for all the forward gears. Same situation, it looks fine. The Torrington bearings, we have to wash them up and look at them, but right now they do look okay. Maybe a little bit of brittling on there. Once we wash them up, we'll be able to get a good picture of what's going on. This is that really big spring I was talking about that sits inside this drum. So this is basically sitting in there pushing on all these things, trying to push itself out. So that's why a lot of times these will break. It takes a long time for them to break. And the new one we haven't seen break, but I wouldn't say that it's not possible. This is our band that comes on for second gear. And if you look at this, you can see the coloring. That brown is going to be the actual color of the band. The black is going to be from slippage. This material that's on this band is prone to wearing away, so we usually put in a Pro Series high energy band, and that usually takes care of that problem. This is our front planetary. One of the problems is that it's going to be hard to do with one hand, so bear with me for a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this gear and I'm going to try to rock it like this. And then I'll go to this gear and I'll do the same, but you'll see how this one here, see how there's some actual play here? See how I can wiggle that? That's because there's a bunch of needles inside there. You're going to have a pin and a bunch of needles like a U-joint, and that's going to be worn into the pin. So this one here, I'm doing the same thing and I just can't wiggle it. The whole thing is moving, so you're basically going to have a pin here, and there's a whole bunch of needles that are sitting up, and like I said, on this gear here, because I can wiggle it, the needles have worn into the pin, so this planetary is no good. The rear planetary looks okay. We've checked that out. We have to wash everything, of course, but that appears to be fine now as well. So the big thing looks like the band is cooked for reverse. That would have caused a no reverse condition, but also these snap ring pieces here popping out, that's going to give no reverse as well. So that's the big things, and then our front clutch damage here, of course. That's probably, a lot of that's probably burnt because this is the second thing that comes on for reverse. You have your low reverse band is one thing, and then this front clutch comes on for reverse as well. So this is also used for the shift from second to third, which explains why that shift wasn't as good as the shift from first to second. So there you have it. That's what we found on the inside of your transmission. And as I said, Eric or Amanda will contact you with the different cost estimates. Thanks.